T-Dog, J-Boy, and me, I'm Lugs. Our pride and joy is pumping our mugs. Be careful, kids, it could get rough. We're flipping our lids on sports and other stuff.
Welcome to Sport Weasel Central. I'm Love.
I'm J-Boy.
And I'm T-Dog.
Yes, sir. Hey, fellas, how are you? I got a little joke to start the game here, the show, I guess. Where can you read about coffee cups?
The
Encyclopedia?
at a museum for coffee cups.
That would work, wouldn't it? No, a mugazine. Yeah, you heard this one before, I think. But anyway, NFL Week 3 is history, and just who are these surprise 3-0 teams? The Vikings, Steelers, and Seahawks. What? Did you see the Commanders on Monday Night Football? T-Dog has already submitted his ballot to the Podcasters Writers of America, and he was at that game. He says Jayden Daniels is Rookie of the Year. Well, we'll let him talk about that. But, Lugs, let's start there. How are you? Good to see you. Daniels had all day throwing ropes. He was throwing everything. And OC Cliff Kingsbury may have found his man.
Well, he hopes. Want to see a little bit more of Jayden Daniels. Right now, he is Rookie of the Year, but it's a long year here. He has Brian Robinson, Austin Eckler, the running backs. They're back and healthy. His offensive line was basically protecting him in stellar fashion. But I got to say, he has to every day buy a bear claw for Terry McLaurin.
A bear claw.
I mean, he caught anything that came his way. And shout out to Terry McLaurin. He's gone through, I think, 12 or 15 quarterbacks. Who knows how many? It's just crazy. And the man always 1,000-yard seasons. But yes, it was a fun game to watch. And I got to say, what are the Bengals going to do? I mean, they got to win from here on out. That's just the way it is. And I don't know. I'm a little surprised and disappointed with the Bengals. What do you think, Dog?
I think I'll give credit to Jayden Daniels. I think he's played well, particularly I believe on the touchdown pass to essentially really ice the game to Terry McLaurin. I believe that was a zero coverage. So like Cincinnati knew they had to go all out, and they blitzed, and he was able to make a great throw with pressure in his face to McLaurin, touchdown, ball game. I know the Bengals scored some fake points afterwards, but that game was over after that point. It was a great game by Washington's offense, and Cliff Kingsbury called a good game. But I will say this, guys, on the other end with the two to dance, that Bengals defense is beyond doo-doo. And that is the main reason why Jayden Daniels looked so impressive in that game. Now, he's played well in the other two games, but let's remember, they beat the Giants team by not scoring a touchdown. They had Seibert, I believe, kicked 7 field goals to win that game.
He did.
And they only really won that game because really, even though he's done some really good things as a coach this year, Daboll decided to go with Gano as their kicker, even though he knew he was injured. And lo and behold, I believe off the kickoff, Gano was injured, and they didn't have a backup kicker, so they had to go for 2 points, and they barely lost that game. So I'm just saying, let's settle down a little bit. Jayden Daniels definitely feels like he's in the forefront. The one guy I will say, even though quarterbacks always rule over this person, and we'll maybe get to this game, Neighbors might be the Rookie of the Year, the way he's looking. But I know he's a wide receiver, so I know that it's always tilted toward quarterback.
T-Dog, you were at the game filing this live report. Just thoughts on being at Paycor Stadium, in the jungle, as it were.
The Paycor Stadium, always enjoy it. I've been to a few NFL games. Always has the crowd where it feels like it's the city. And I'm not going to take slights at other places, but I'm just saying, like, if sometimes it feels like people kind of come to the games because they don't have anything to do on a Sunday or something. People in Cincinnati are there for the Bengals. So, like, it is a very kind of, like, blue-collar working class feel to it. I'm not saying that's maybe accurate. They were all devastated, and I can understand why. Because, again, they were out. They're starting to defensive tackles, and, you know, some other guys were kind of nicked up on defense. But and even if they were healthy, I don't know if this defense is good. So, kind of like what Lug said. Like, this Bengals team, obviously he's in trouble because historically teams that start 0-3 do not make the playoffs.
Amen.
It's like every 10 years there's a team. So maybe they're that team. But it's going to be really dicey, but they have a good enough offense, and they do need guys to get healthy, and they're going to have to, you know, go to the drawing board. Whatever their defense is, they're going to have to do something probably wonky to kind of generate some wins.
Yeah. All right, so Lugs, let me throw this at you. These surprise 3-0 teams, or maybe they're not, the Vikings, Steelers, and Seahawks. A little bit of a surprise, maybe, especially the Seahawks, I'd say.
Yeah, probably. I'm still surprised at the Vikings. I mean, Sam Darnold is the MVP at this point.
True.
By just by playing to the strengths of that team, and you know, the coaching, they're making the right moves. So I'm not so sure about Seahawks, but hey, you take wins any way you can get them, because this is a long, long season. It's just crazy when you think about how banged up already people are, and we're only 3 games into it. So I wish all those boys lots of luck with that stuff, but yeah, injuries are going to happen. But yeah, of all the B-plus quarterbacks, I got to give Darnold credit. Hey, I'll give Justin Fields credit at Pittsburgh. He's not great, but he's showing up, and with that defense, he can just don't do stupid stuff. And I think they've taken that out of him. It was a breath of fresh air, I think, for him to get away from Chicago. And well, we can discuss later the Bears situation.
Oh, God.
Whoa.
So T-Dog.
What do you think, dog?
Yeah, what about Justin Fields? Were we wrong about him? What happened? Come on.
No, again, like, some of these things are
Too early, too soon?
Yeah, too early, too soon. And again, were we wrong about him? We like Fields. Like, Fields is good.
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
Okay, maybe I was more.
You're carrying his water. You're carrying his water.
Yeah, I was carrying his water.
Yeah.
I mean, I believe in
Torch.
Fields. It's just that, you know, the way that the Pittsburgh can play, like, they can play to his strengths. And again, I don't want to kind of like, you know, kill the Steelers for who they face. They can only face who they played, but like.
True.
The best team they played is the Chargers, and their 3 best players on offense, Rashawn Slater, Joe Alt, their offensive linemen, who've been a big part of their early success, they get injured and out for the game, and then Herbert is out for the game. And what was a tight game, and that allowed them to kind of shift. But again, Justin Fields is playing smart, and they've definitely drilled in his head, like, don't make any plays that might be kind of dicey. They just tell him just straight away, just I throw the ball away or, you know, take the sack. So, like, he's playing smart. And if you look at it, they are pounding the ball, even though it's not really maybe generating a lot of yards. Cordell Patterson's running, Warren's running, Najee Davenport's running. They're averaging probably like 30 to 40 rushes a game. They're being smart because just they have a good enough defense that they don't need to force anything.
So wait, you're saying Mike Tomlin's a better coach than Matt Eberflus with Justin Fields?
Again, yeah, well,
I'm being
he
facetious,
is, but again, like a lot of these like that one is, I'll just put it this way: the big scope what we're talking about is like these guys who get like kind of laughed at, like Sam Darnold and Justin Fields and stuff. Sometimes you're just not put in the right situation. Sam Darnold more so. And again, I'm not saying that Fields can't do it, but like Sam Darnold is put in Kevin O'Connell's system where, Jalen Naylor has scored a touchdown in 3 straight games.
Yeah.
And how's that happen? And again, I'm not saying he doesn't have talent. It's because Kevin O'Connell gets guys wide open in his scheme and makes Sam Darnold easy throws. And Justin Jefferson has, is Justin Jefferson. And, they'll get Jordan Addison back. And then later in the year, they'll get T.J. Hawkinson back. So I think easily the Minnesota is the surprise team. And it's not that I think all of us like their coaching staff because Kevin O'Connell is a great coach. Brian Flores definitely takes his defensive coaching skills to the next level and just all the – because after the 49ers game, Brock Purdy went up to him and shook his hand. He's like, I don't know. Like, that's some of the craziest crap I've ever seen. Like, so he's dialed it up. Completely. And again, the Texans are a legitimate Super Bowl team, and they washed them. They absolutely washed them. C.J. Stroud is one of the better quarterbacks, and they completely dismantled him. So I think they're the surprise team, and it's gonna be a very tough North with how 3 of the teams are team. And again, Malik Willis took on his former team, in the Tennessee Titans, who, if you remember a few years ago. Vrabel didn't even want to put him in, so they grabbed Dotson off the street and was essentially a playoff game against the Jaguars, which they lost to play. Malik Willis barely is on the Green Bay team, and these last 2 weeks has looked phenomenal because, again, you have a coach who understands what the strengths and weaknesses of this person is, and they're going to put him in positions to win and not put him in positions, well, this is my offense. This is how you're supposed to do it.
Plus, he went to Liberty University. Wow. Can you even find that on the map? Lugs, you know where that is?
Is that Virginia?
I don't know.
Yeah, I believe it's in the Mid-Atlantic. It's I think it's very close to the DMV.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I tell you, the shocker for me of the weekend was just how badly Trevor Lawrence played.
Yes.
I mean, they showed shots of him on the sidelines. I don't even think he was thinking football. I think he was thinking about lunch or something. I don't know.
Shampoo commercial?
Maybe. He may pull an Andrew Luck and just say, sorry, fellas, I've had enough. Because the Jaguars, they've got better players than that scorer. I mean, it's just, these are professional players. When I saw Trevor Lawrence missed 2 passes in a row Mason Rudolph would have made those throws.
Yeah.
And but speaking of old timers, how about my boy Andy Dalton? Finally.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The Red Rifle is back and better than ever. Woohoo! Andy!
It really determined
Crazy.
Bryce Young's fate, didn't it? That performance, I think it really did. There's just nothing left for Bryce Young there. I don't know who would want him or why, but somebody probably will. He just needs some time to just baste. He needs to stand on the sidelines and look it over.
Based.
Now, of course, it did help that they were playing Las Vegas, who is another one of those teams that you can't really get your finger on. I mean, it obviously the ownership there is suspect, but anyway, it was just a moment for my man, who I don't know if he's been on the field since Dallas. Since he was a backup.
He has
at
bounced
Dallas.
around.
I want to say, yeah. I mean, he played some snaps last year because with Bryce Young, they didn't let him do quarterback sneaks. When they'd go for a quarterback sneak, they'd bring in Andy Dalton to
Okay.
sneak. So, which is a pretty big red flag. I mean, you're afraid your guy can't even take a quarterback.
Reduced to
sneak.
a battering ram, Andy Dalton, and then Bryce Young is too fragile. Yeah, what?
Yeah,
What?
so About that game.
Yeah, go with that one.
Look, I think the Raiders. This is what this league is. It's up and down. This Raiders team that I agree with you is erratic. Like last week, they beat Baltimore because Gardner Minshew is the definition of erratic. He played. He had some great play. He balled out for Devontae Adams and Brock Bowers last week, and then he totally kind of like brain farted so much that they benched him for Aiden O'Connell this week. Look, and Lugs kind of nailed it. This is not that it wasn't already kind of a death nail, but the way that Andy Dalton not just breathed life into, but like he's the first quarterback this year to throw for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns against a defense that I know they have some weaknesses. Overall, like Raiders' defense is probably the strength of the team. You paid Christian Wilkins an absurd amount of money. Max Crosby is one of the best pass rushers in the league. They have some underrated corners. For him to do that with Deontay Johnson, who is a good player, and Chuba Hubbard, who is a good running back, but I mean he wasn't so good that they didn't draft Jonathan Brooks to take his job this year. So it's not like he's like a superstar, and it's just like Bryce Young couldn't even like throw for 100 yards, and this is year 2, week 2, I believe. So it was very kind of crushing,
sad, isn't it?
Yeah, for him, and I hope he kind of like we were talking about Darnold. Hopefully, he can find a second place. I don't know if anyone's ever going to be a Geno Smith. I think Darnold might be on his way to being that for I don't know what team next year, but.
But back to Bryce Young. So he's still in his rookie deal. So he's year 2, right? So somebody they could make. What would they get for him though? A 4th-round pick? I mean, it's like
well, that's the thing is like they're showing their hand that they don't want him anymore. Right. So now everyone's going to low ball him. At most, you're probably getting a 3rd. I would assume.
That's crazy.
I got to see the team that even does that.
All right, so 2 years in a row is the first-round pick a bust. I'm speaking of Caleb Williams. Rough game, not a good game to watch on either side with the Colts. Sorry, I'm choosing some ice here. Is that etiquette? I don't think that's good.
No.
I'm drinking a drink. It's not, it's just water. Okay. But anyway, that was a rough game to watch. He was running for his life. He's getting killed. Has no time, makes bad mistakes. Where do you go from here, T-Dog, with that whole thing?
Well, again, I know I come off as a quarterback apologist always, and I probably am. But look, Caleb Williams, both the picks were his fault. Like the first pick, he was late, and he threw across his body to the left. You can't do that. And then the second one was in double coverage. But that being said, this is through 2 weeks. This was one of the worst run defenses in the league, and you had your quarterback drop back and throw 52 times.
Right.
In a game that was really never out of it. And a lot of it has to do with DeAndre Swift had 13 carries. He averaged 1.5 yards per carry. I know it's they spent a lot of money on him, but
time to change that up. Sounds like
he needs to be 3rd on the depth chart. Khalil Herbert should be at the top. Mix in Rashawn a little bit because Khalil Herbert is easily your best power runner, and even they know it because when they were in the goal early this game, and when they scored a touchdown against the Texans, he was the goal line back. So Khalil Herbert, Rashawn Johnson. Make it more balanced, and again, some of the play calling, a lot of it has to do with play calling. I mean, It's just absurd to like it's in the second quarter, on 3rd down, they had a small wide receiver, DeAndre Carter, who's maybe 160 pounds, try to block a defensive lineman when they were running the ball, and shockingly, the DeAndre Swift was obliterated, who's not great at contact balance or has good eyesight, which are two important factors in being a running back. But again, I know I'm killing DeAndre Swift. And then after that, they tried on fourth down, they run an option with Caleb Williams, who has many gifts, but one of them is not running. And then DeAndre Swift, who, like I said, is not that great contact balance for a running back. Again, they're playing against the Colts. They don't have Anthony Richardson and Jonathan Taylor who can maybe run that option play. Like, those are not guys that are going to be able to do it. And just his third turnover, it was Latu, the first overall defensive player in the draft this year. He got a strip sack because who was guarding him? It was Cole Kmet, who is a good player, but Cole Kmet's not going to be able to block a guy who's like 270 pounds and so bigger. And he was supposed to get help from, shockingly, the other bust guy they decided to pay money to, Gerald Everett, again, who's never been anything great. There's a reason why he was on the – so, like I said, and again, Caleb Williams – is not put in a great situation offensively. I think I'm not giving him all the plays off. Like some of the targets have been off where the play has gone clean. Some of the sacks are on him because they're coverage sacks. But he is not put in a situation. Again, you look at what, a lot of these young quarterbacks are given. They're given a strong running game just to take pressure off of them. And when you're having this guy drop back and being like, "Oh, he can do it by himself," he's new to the league. The speed is completely absurd to him right now. Now that being said, I feel better about Caleb Williams going forward than Anthony Richardson. So I will say that.
Lugs, are the Bears a 4-13 team this year? It's looking like it.
Yeah. It's just sad, but Chicago's doing what it always does. It wastes offensive talent. They don't know how to deal with it. They're back, you've heard of the butterfly effect. I call it the Butkus effect. They're back in the 70s and early 80s with that defense, and the league has totally changed. And could we get somebody on that offensive line who can do more than say, "Look out"? Because, that's all they were doing. Caleb Williams was sacked, 8 times in that game? Seriously, folks. But what you're seeing, I think, is the small markets, Cincinnati, Jacksonville. Now, Chicago's a big market, but they're small-time owners. They've owned it forever, and they've never gotten the offense right. Never. Sid Luckman,
1947, yes.
Again, a while ago.
I think Caleb Williams, I'm not going to say you all agree. I've watched highlights of the Titans. I watched all the Texas Colts. He has gotten better. I know it's incrementally, but they play the Rams, they play the Panthers, they play the Jaguars, they play the Commanders, and they play the Cardinals. They should be able to
win a couple there, huh?
But
win a couple there.
He can't cover up all the shortcomings of that team.
Well,
I'm sorry.
I'm not disagreeing with you on that, but Lugs, they are going to have to come to a Jesus on DeAndre Swift. They have a big enough sample size with 3 games that they'll have Khalil Herbert, and Khalil Herbert, I guarantee you, or even Rashawn, they're maybe not going to put up 5 yards per carry. They're not going to put up 1.2 like DeAndre Swift is, because they actually have power and contact balance, and they can drive things. I don't think things are going to get great. I'm not disagreeing with you that. Look, none of us had them making the playoffs this year, so it's not like any of us were jumping in that frame.
True.
Yeah.
So it's.
But I think it's evident that Caleb Williams is talented, but he cannot carry this team. There's just it's just too big of a load.
Look, agreed.
He gets through the season without getting damaged like Anthony Richardson, who I don't ever think will be even a second-tier quarterback at this point. I mean, he is young. I guess he's the youngest quarterback. But, man, Chicago, fellas, somebody. Go out on the street and get a couple of big guys, meat packers, bring them in.
Don't use the word
say-
Packers, man. Don't use the word Packers. Don't do that.
Well, whatever. Longshoreman and say, see that guy across from you? I want him on the ground. I mean, something. I was just, I've never been a Caleb Williams fan in particular, but gosh, I mean, he was beyond running for his life, and he was running for his physical health, I'm thinking. I mean, 300-pound, 325-pound men falling on you with malicious intent. You're not going to last long. You're not going to.
I know they fell down to earth, but again, I know I really go after one particular part a lot of times, and sometimes it's personnel. I'm not saying it is, but I will just say this. Just like how I pointed out, like, you look at how the Saints' first 2 weeks were gangbusters, where it was pretty much the same personnel with a new offensive coordinator who all of a sudden started using motion and play action, and Derek Carr through 2 weeks looked like one of the best quarterbacks in the league. The Bears, who can't run the ball through 3 games, last year were a top 5 running team. Now, obviously, I know that Fields made a big part of that. That being said, if you look at what the running backs did, not Justin Fields running, that was a good running team. And that offensive line, for the most part, it's the same guys. That's all I'm going to say.
All right, we're about go ahead, Lugs, man. Hit it.
I was just going to say, did you happen to catch the ball presentation from Sirianno? You could tell those guys have no time to waste for that monkey. All those big old guys are just standing around going, you could see it in their eyes. It's like, why don't you shut up?
We have no time to waste for that monkey. What do you
Sirianno, man, I'm telling you, he's done. He is done.
I get Sirianni, but Sirianno's that spaghetti sauce you like, so that's maybe why you got mixed up there.
Okay.
That's
Well,
Sirianni.
yeah, sure.
We're a little bit more than halfway through this program, sports and other stuff. Lugs, can you hit us with a little sports of yesteryear, please?
All right.
Go ahead.
1934, Lou Gehrig plays in his 15th consecutive game, called the Iron Man. 1955, Detroit outfielder Al Kaline, 20 is the youngest batting champion in the MLB. 1965, 60-year-old Satchel Paige of the Kansas City Athletics pitches 3 scoreless innings, becoming the oldest man to do that. 1984, New York Met Rusty Staub joins Ty Cobb, who hits home runs as a teenager and in his 40s. And finally, 1992, Sparky Anderson ties Huey Jennings as Detroit Tigers' winningest manager. That's sort of your baseball report this time on this edition of Sports of Yesteryear.
Yes, much appreciated, baseball. How about the Chicago White Sox this season, winning only 40-some games and losing more than 120? How do you even wake up in the morning and put on your shoes? That's rough.
I think you just have to look at it as, well, got to go punch in. It becomes a factory job, doesn't it? It's not like a sport at that point, because you know the outcome. You're going to get your butt whipped. It's crazy.
It is crazy. Okay, what else you want to hit up on this remaining few minutes we have, or we have about 10 minutes left in the broadcast tonight? What do you want to hit, T-Dog?
I guess I'll let Lug start off since he's our senior editor when it comes to college football.
Senior.
Well, I got to say, I've enjoyed these games since the expanded SEC and all of that. It's amazing to watch when you get to watch some of these games, and I am enjoying college football as much or more than the NFL. I mean, just the drama that's going on. But I'd have to say right now, Texas is my favorite team, either with Arch Manning or with Dour, whatever his name is. Yours. Then this weekend, my friends, Alabama, Georgia.
Yes, sir. Lock it in.
Come on.
What do you think?
Well, I got to give the edge to Georgia, but you never know. Yeah, I mean, this is it. And then Louisville, they're playing Notre Dame. That's another good game.
Yes, sir.
That could define Louisville's season. I would expect Notre Dame to win, but again, they beat Notre Dame last year with a so-so quarterback. They've got a better quarterback, so we'll just see. I'd say it's a good weekend of football coming up, that's for sure.
D-Dog likes Louisville over Notre Dame. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I don't know. I think, I'm
it's a good one.
I'm calling. I don't even think it's upset, right? Is Notre Dame ranked higher than Louisville? Louisville, I mean,
one position. Notre Dame's, I think, 14th, and Louisville is 15th.
Man, that. Yeah,
good stuff.
NIU is not a bad team, but
no.
I mean, but I don't know. I think I think U of L wins and ends Notre Dame's chances of making even the expanded playoff game.
That's bold right there, baby.
Yeah,
that's a hot take.
That's a hot take.
Andy,
that's a hot take, Andy.
Well, do you all? I'll ask you all this because maybe you all know better than I do. Do you think U of L can solidly stop the run?
That's the big question, because that's all that Notre Dame has at this point.
That's what I'm saying.
Is suspect.
You're being nice. It's trash.
Wow.
Trash.
Notre Dame is trash.
Their passing game is trash. I'm not saying Notre Dame's trash, but
if they can box up that quarterback and just keep them, he and I forget the running back's name as well, but yeah, that's all they have. But Notre Dame, in Notre Dame fashion, does have a real good defense.
Yeah.
Up front, I will say that. So we'll see.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess I'm really looking forward to. I guess last Saturday, the one game that I thought was really interesting was Michigan versus the Trojans.
Yeah, first time since a Rose Bowl back in the day, wasn't it? I mean, that's a weird pairing, but that's how it's going to be now.
And again, kind of like what we're talking about Notre Dame, Michigan right now, they don't have a quarterback. I mean, their quarterback, Alex Origi, he threw for 32 yards.
Wow, 32 yards.
Yeah.
Threw for 32.
Luckily,
they were able to run the ball for 290 yards and 3 rushing touchdowns. But it was a good game, and that Michigan's definitely not going to be in the playoffs, I don't think. But they're still going to be a tough out for a lot of teams. And I think it was a good game for USC in that the one thing that's been a problem under Riley, even going back to his former place, Oklahoma, is they didn't have a defense. USC hung tough with just a good mauling team in Michigan. So I think, as long as they're able to maintain some of the momentum in terms of recruiting and stuff, this USC team can, I think, be in the mix for a Big Ten title if they can get a defense to go along with Riley's offense. So.
All right, time will tell. All right, that brings to a close. Believe it or not, we've cooked through another 40 minutes here. Sports and other stuff brought to you in part by Austin Chiropractic. Remember, if you've had a weak back for about a week back, stop in and see our good friends there, Dr. Austin, and his newest employee, that guy we know. His name is
Fish.
Yeah.
This week, Fish has decided to become Yoda, sort of. This is to celebrate Star Wars Luke Skywalker and actor Mark Hamill's birthday. This Saturday at 1 p.m., Fish will host a Star Wars marathon. Films include The Empire Strikes Back, The Phantom Menace, Rogue One, and The Mandalorian. Today is scheduled to culminate with a drawing for a Zoom visit with none other than Mark Hamill himself. His schedule permitting, of course. Admission is $20. All proceeds benefit the Jar Jar Binks Home for Downtrodden Character Actors. Come on down.
How is Jar Jar? Have you caught up with him lately? Is he all
I
right?
believe it, I don't know. You know. by the way, Mark Hamill is 73 years old. Also this week, Bruce Springsteen, 75. Wow.
And know what? That's tidbits you'll only get here on Sports and Other Stuff. Thanks for checking in. We're first in sound, first in service, and first in other stuff. I guess we'll see you next time. So long, everybody. Bye-bye.